have the trine with Cancer and Pisces, which is 3 water signs. This is a good energy, but because you're going to have, let's go over Cancer first. Cancer is a cardinal water, while Scorpio is a fixed water, and it's generally compatible, but one is emotion and one is intransient, which creates friction, and this reduces their compatibility. There's a common bond, which is emotionality, with Scorpio and Cancer, and Scorpio emotionally feels the Cancer container, which is depend on your Scorpio. If you're a Cancer, or if you're any one of these signs, what I will do is to look at my chart to see where Scorpio is in my chart, what sign and house is ruled by Scorpio, and try to see, what it is that is needed for me to understand my Scorpio self and how to integrate it if I was a Cancer, to integrate it into my psyche. For all the signs, is going to be dependent on how well you understand the Scorpio aspect of yourself. Cancer is sensitive and responsive, but that responsiveness is reactive. It's a reactive response, and Cancer can be open, receptive to emotions. Cancer can respond very well to Scorpio's emotions, but there is a reactionary sometimes response there, which can be negative. Cancer will internalize the responses from Scorpio. In general, the energetic aspect of a trine is easier between 2 containers because, of course, it's water. Trine is usually the same element, but it's not the same modality, which Cancer is cardinal. Emotional contents from Scorpio can trigger the nurturing qualities associated with Cancer, especially if Scorpio is distressful. The role of Cancer to Scorpio is to alleviate emotional pain. The positive aspect that Cancer and Scorpio is to share emotions and to support each other. The threatening response is usually going to probably come from Cancer when they get into a reactive mode, which can take several forms. But usually what can happen when Cancer reacts to some of Scorpio's emotionality is to withdraw, erect barriers, or throw up boundaries. Cancer will become passive aggressive and may, lash out. Most dangerous, when Cancer responds in a way that Scorpio doesn't like, Scorpio will respond in a way to take aggression. They can become vengeful, hurtful, or even violent. But the aspect of these two is to develop deep emotional understanding. So we know that Cancer is nurturing and Scorpio is emotional sign. To gain deep emotional understanding, which on the Scorpio's part is to understand Cancer's reactions and also not to manipulate Cancer. Let's talk about Pisces. We have fixed water and mutable water. There is a compatibility because of water, but fixed Scorpio oppose Pisces. Fixed and mutable kind of oppose each other. Mutable is about consistent change, and fixed is about resisting change. This is where they're gonna butt heads. They could get along because of the water aspect and understanding each other's emotion. Both have an abundance of emotional energy and relate to each other on an emotional level. Scorpio tends to be more inflexible. It have a lot of emotional concentrated, which persists for a long time, especially if it's not released. Scorpio emotions can feel both because they're emotional signs, water signs. They can amplify each other's emotions. Pisces is the sea of emotions, which is kind of confused because it's kind of like they absorb everyone's emotions, while Scorpio is not absorbing other people's emotions. Scorpio is more about their own emotions, versus Pisces is about everyone's emotions, which could overwhelm Pisces. And Scorpio does not understand that aspect of Pisces, the changeability of their emotions. Scorpio can become overwhelmed by Pisces because of their emotional range and confused by lack of definition, because one minute they're this, the next minute they're that. And Scorpio can reject Pisces. Pisces can also reject Scorpio for lack of compassion and ego-centeredness, because Scorpio's emotion is all about, how Scorpio feels. Scorpio could have disruptive emotional energy, which means that they could get very angry. But Pisces could, because they are the way they are, they kind of tend to go along to get along. And they'll go along with a stronger force of energy, which is Scorpio. Pisces can get drained by Scorpio or pulled into situations that is not of their choosing, which tends to happen a lot to Pisces because sometimes they don't have boundaries. So Pisces can become passive aggressive because of and resentful and martyr-like when they're being pulled into things that they don't really necessarily want to be pulled into. Scorpio, whenever Scorpio is in emotional pain, then it's almost similar to Cancer. Pisces will definitely try to heal their pain, just like Cancer will try to nurture their pain. You see that way from the water signs. They'll help each other emotionally, but just in different ways. But in this case, with Pisces and Scorpio, is about boundaries, and specifically Pisces creating boundaries so that way they don't go off the deep end with Scorpio. This is the hard aspect, square with Aquarius and with Leo. These energies are a little bit difficult to integrate. I'm a Leo, so I'm a little bit scared a little bit of this full moon. Sorry. Let's see. Let's talk about Aquarius first. We have fixed water and fixed air. What you think, because of their modality, they'll be good together, but let's see. Generally, because of this fixed sign, there's a compatibility there because of the fixity. But water dissolves and traps air, and air evaporates and traps water. The same energetic state, but fixity of both of them is of different quality. Scorpio will resist change, and Aquarius will also resist change. They have that in common, but because of that, it's going to create a lot of issues. Scorpio water is emotional, turns hot inward. So it turns hot inwardly, and then when it's outward, it could heat up the surroundings or infect. What that means is to infect others with their emotional intensities. Inwardly, Scorpio is hot because emotions are heat related, and when they project that outward, there's a lot of emotional intensity. So air is dispassionate and cold and fixed. This is Aquarius. Aquarians are aggressively unemotional. Aquarians reject anything that is based on emotion rather than reason, which is going to bring a lot of conflict to these two. If you have these two things in your psyche, you're probably warring with yourself all the time about whether or not you should be emotional or whether or not you should be rational. Or if you meet people outside of yourself, if you're Aquarius, you meet a very scorpionic person, you're probably not going to get along well with them unless you create some type of communication. Both of them are going to be unyielding and resist each other, which is going to result in conflict. There's a direct conflict, which will be Scorpio asserting their emotions, and Aquarius is going to counter that with reason, or what they think is reason, and some form of ideology. Scorpio is going to react with strong resentments to Aquarius, just like they react to Gemini, detachment, and sometimes they'll try to manipulate. If Aquarius fails to understand Scorpio's deeply felt emotion, this can lead to intense passive-aggressive behavior, feelings of vindictiveness, or betrayal from Aquarius. This is going to lead Scorpio to overtly attack Aquarius. Aquarius is going to react with disdain and intellectual arrogance. So a little bit different than Gemini, whereas Gemini is going to detach. Aquarius is going to become more intellectual to counter Scorpio, which is not good either. And what they're going to do is, of course, become intellectually arrogant and feel they're above emotion. Because, of course, for an Aquarian, if you have a lot of Aquarius in your sign, in your chart, then you're not going to have too much emotional awareness. Aquarius is going to be offended by Scorpio's hostility and keep their distance to protect themselves from unwanted attacks. There's an opportunity to learn from each other, just like Gemini, the other air sign. There's opportunity to learn through common interaction. There needs to be awareness and validity of each other's approach to recognize a need for greater balance and wholeness by cooperating or understanding each other's worlds, because there's two different worlds, air and water. Through intimate contact, Scorpio may come to understand and appreciate the rational idea-based approach of Aquarius. Of course, acknowledge Scorpio's deeply felt urges, while Scorpio could acknowledge the rational idea-based side of Aquarius. But it can be too much to change each other because they're fixed, so they're not going to really change. They're both fixed signs; they don't want to change. But you could incorporate each other's qualities, or at least develop some form of respect for each other, for each other's orientation. That's for these two to work. If you have these two in your psyche, which we all do, we all have all the signs, but sometimes depending on how you are, what's in your chart, and how you are as a person, sometimes you might take the rational side of life and dismiss the emotional side. I think that our society likes this side of life and does not like this side of life. And it's really about incorporating both of them. And just like any of these, it's about incorporating the emotional aspects. And sometimes it's the deep emotional aspects of Scorpio, which a lot of people don't understand. And when people don't understand this side of Scorpio, and it could be someone that is something that's projected outside of you, or just understanding your own emotional nature. When we see violence, that's a lot of the times people don't understand their own emotional nature, which is Scorpio. For these two to get along, then it's really about respect and incorporating qualities, rational and emotional.